What's up, everybody? Pastor Mike here again for another episode of Table Talks. Every day we're having these quick, short conversations for growth. They're practical. Every day the topics look different. Today's Saturday, which means we're talking about leadership. One of my favorite things to talk about. Why? Because we all called to be leaders. And here's what I'm going to do. Over the next several weeks, I'm going to talk about one thing only. How do you gain respect from the people that you lead? How do you gain respect? There's 5 things I'm going to talk about. Why is this important? Because this is essential to be a leader. Listen to me. A title will make you a manager. Influence will make you a leader, okay? And when you have influence, it's because people respect you and they want to follow you. They want to go where you're going. So we're going to talk about this over the next several weeks. Important, man, as a parent, it's important as a stay-at-home parent. It's important in whatever work, whether you're a peer or a leader in your workplace. It's important if you're leading life groups. It's important in every area to garner respect with the people that you have influence with, that you do life with, okay? So here's what we're going to talk about. Today, I'm going to talk about integrity is essential. Integrity is essential. Listen to me. If I'm going to gain your respect, I got to do what I'm going to say that I say I'm going to do, right? I got to do what I'm going to say I'm going to do, and I got to do it with excellence. Like, I'm not saying I'm perfect, but you're going to get my best. Like, I'm not going to go in there procrastinating. I'm not going to go in there half-hearted. I'm going to give you 110% of the best of me. You're going to get the best, right? And I'm going to do it on time, right? I'm going to listen. I'm going to gain your respect because I got integrity with me. I'm going to be on time. I'm going to do it with excellence. I'm going to do what I say I'm going to do. And here's what you got to also understand. You're not going to be able to meet everybody's expectations. All right? Like, not everybody is going to be like, yeah. Like, but you can manage people's expectations. And you've got to learn the art of managing the expectations of people who learn. Here's what I learned from my pastor, Pastor Scott. He says, here's what happens. You have expectations. That's what people are expecting is going to happen. And then you have reality, right? The reality of what they actually experience, right? See this? You got these expectations, then you got reality. And this gap in between these two, that gap in between is frustrations, right? That gap between what they expect and what they get, that's frustration. That's where a lot of people get mad, right? You go to a restaurant, you go somewhere, you have these expectations, and then that reality drops below those expectations. What happens? You get frustrated. You got to learn to minimize that gap. How do you minimize that gap? Because you're not going to be perfect. So sometimes people are going to have an expectation different than you. You're not going to be perfect. But here's how you manage that gap. You can lessen that frustration by being open and honest about the reality of the situation, right? Like, just communicate. Communicate what's going on. Communicate the seriousness of a nature. Communicate the situation. You can also lessen that gap by being very clear with the expectations you have for them, right? If you're hiring somebody new, or you have your children, or you're bringing someone onto your volunteer team, if you are crystal clear with what you expect from them, guess what? That gap, that frustration level is going to be minimized. When I bring new hires onto our church, you know what I give them? I give them the user guide to Pastor Mike. There's 14 literally questions. I say, this is the way I think. This is what I expect of you. This is how I do it, right? And then I also lay out very clearly the expectations I have for myself. Because I know you're going to expect things from me as your leader. And so here's what I know you're going to expect. And this is what I'm going to give you. And this is what I'm going to do. And this is how I'm going to communicate to you. So what I'm doing is I'm going to lessen that gap so that the frustration won't be maximized. You know what another way you can do? Is that you can tell people why you do something, not just tell them to do something. Like, you're going to lessen that gap when you say, here's the why behind the what. I'm going to tell you why I'm making the decision. I'm going to tell you why we're going this way. I'm going to tell you why we're doing it. And guess what's going to happen? We're going to lessen that gap. And the smaller this gap is, the more at ease you're going to have with an organization. Now, I don't want you to just stop there, okay? Some people say, okay, I just want to be okay, right? No, we're going to strive for excellence. So to strive for excellence, here's what we're going to do. We're not going to just strive to minimize the gap. We're going to look for opportunities to flip this thing on its lid. Because we're going to look for the opportunities where we can now have reality up top and expectations down below. And when we do that, listen to me, that gap in between there now becomes wow. I create wow moments when someone comes in expecting one thing, but they experience something they never anticipated. All of a sudden, there's a wow. That's like, okay, I didn't expect that. Like, I didn't know that was going to happen. When we go out of our way to reach out to people, when we go out of our way to serve people, when we go out of our way to introduce ourselves to people, when we go out of our way to actually pray for someone or text someone or love someone or serve someone, when we go out and they didn't expect it, all of a sudden that's a wow. Last summer, me and my wife, we actually went to Disney a couple summers ago, actually. And when we got there, we were realizing our daughter who has special needs, it was going to be like a chore, wait in line to go to Disney. So we went up to the help desk and we said, can we take our daughter's stroller in through the line because she's got cerebral palsy, she's got special needs, like she doesn't do well like standing and being on her feet the whole time. She has had hip surgeries. And they said, of course, they gave us a special tag. And then they said, does she have a hard time waiting in line because of her special needs? And we said, yes. And they go, we want to serve you. And they gave us unlimited fast passes for the whole family. Can I tell you something? We went expecting to be able to have a stroller in line because of her special needs. And then they literally went above and beyond our expectations with the reality. It was a wow moment. It made our vacation amazing. Also that summer, me and Amanda, we like to travel churches more on vacation to check out what other people are doing. We went to this church in Orlando. We went to this church, and when we checked in the families, get this, when we checked in our families, we actually had this host that actually was with us. And she goes, let me walk you through everything. She took us into the kids' church area and showed us, this is where you're going to drop your kids off. This is where you're going to pick them back up. This is kind of the activities you're going to do. She took us over to the special needs classroom. Here's our special needs teachers. This is where you're going to drop off your child. And these are all the activities you're going to do. And these are the routine. And then she walked us over into the main church building. And she says, here's where you're going to take your form that you just signed your kids up. They're going to give you a gift there. Here's the speaker we got going on today. It's going to be an amazing message. You got coffee stations over here. This is the auditorium. And walked us through step by step. Can I tell you, me and Amanda walked out of that church. It wasn't the best preaching we ever heard. It wasn't the best worship we ever heard. But we walked out and go, that was one of the best services we ever attended. Why? Because they flipped the lid on the reality. And now our expectations were down here. Our reality was up here. It was a wow moment because they had this idea of having integrity and making sure it's essential. They were going to be excellent. They weren't going to just get by. They were going to be excellent. And when you do that, I got respect for you. And it changes the way people look. All right, guys. Every week I'm going to break this stuff down. We're going to talk some more. Love you guys. Pray God's